So welcome guys to yet another video. You know how it goes. Subscribe, ding-a-ling-a-ling, click on that notification bell and help support the channel for more content. Okay guys, so in today's video, if you saw the last video, it's going to be about this 5/100 conversion that's going to go onto the Bon Jovi, the daily driver. It's going to be a two-part. So I'm just going to run through with you guys what is actually involved in the 5/100 conversion and what's the benefits of it, just very, very quickly. So as you can see here, these are the banded wheels, which are 7.5J by 16s with 205/45 tires on them. These are the discs. I got these off eBay. These mk3 ones, pads and discs. I did actually originally ask for just grooved, but they've sent me grooved and drilled, which is not what I wanted. But unfortunately, at this moment in time, I'm not going to return them all the way back to the UK. So those are 312s. Over here, I've cleaned up already one of the calipers. This is off an Audi TT, 312 caliper and carrier. I mean, the calipers are all the same between the 288s and the 312s. It's just the carrier that is different. But anyway, they're off the TTs left and right. Mark 3 Wishbones, Mark 3 front anti-roll bar, a set of 5/100 rear discs. I've also got new pads for those, and obviously the 5/100 hubs and carriers. Those are slightly different as well. I'll kind of maybe show you quite lightly what, you know, after I've taken them off, I'll show you what the standard ones look like and what the difference are and the benefits of these to the way the car steering and bump steer, which is quite important, especially on a car that's lowered. Okay, so let's just crack on now. Gonna bring the car in, get it on axle stands and strip it all down. Okay, so the car's in the workshop. This is probably the last time this will be seen on 4x100s and on these wheels, which shouldn't be actually on here. These wheels are actually meant for the Mark II. So now I can musical chairs and they can kind of move around and go on the Mark II, and what's on the Mark II can get probably sold, because I'm always worried about damaging these wheels because they're meant to go on the Mark II. So I mean, I hope you're liking these this color contrast. It really sets it off really quite nicely. So I'm really quite happy with the way the car looks. Really pops on this dragon green. So now okay, so this is actually a Mark IV caliper that's on the back of here. I say Mark IV, but it's actually off the 3.5, which is actually the same thing. I broke a 3.5 last year, and it came with these calipers, and actually it had like a little conversion. So that was pretty cool. So I'm also actually going to fit braided lines on the front as well. I've got a set of these BF Goodrich for the front as well, so it's going to be braided all the way around. Okay, so I got the easy bits out of the way, which is just doing the rears, which is just basically just the discs with new bearings, new pads, and that was it, done. So both sides of those are done. I don't know if you can see it, it's quite dark, and this side's not light. So now I'm just going to strip down the front. Okay, so here's the 280s. I've warped these. I killed 280s on Mark IIIs. I think the car's just a bit too heavy for these. Before you do any of those, remove this 30mm first by putting a nut in, locking the disc in, and getting a breaker bar and taking that off first. And then you can start removing, you know, the caliper, the disc, and the hub. Cue the music and let's fast forward this. Done them ages ago, so they've been sitting around a bit dusty. So basically it's got black polyurethane at the front, obviously, so the coloured ones don't kind of, the greens and the blues and the purples stand out here. And I use, the good thing about using, you know, the Mark III, even the Mark III subframe on the Mark II, but this is obviously a Mark III, I don't want to confuse you guys, is that you can actually use the TT and Mark I and also the Mark IV R32 as well as the S3 8L rear bushes, which are solid, because if you look at the original ones, they're like this with kind of voids in them, so kind of a bit more movement. So this kind of still is quite nice, because if you put polyurethane here, they do actually stretch after a while, and you end up with play in it. Whereas this rubber one, it's solid, but also it's got a bit more give in it than the polyurethane ones, so it makes the ride really quite, you know, not as noticeable, not as harsh. So it's a nice upgrade to do. The polyurethane at the front, which controls the arm, basically the movement, and then this kind of just controls that, it makes it soft on the inside, so you know you don't get a lot of vibration coming in through the floor, as well as give you a nice controlled steering feel. Okay, so let's start with the hubs. As you saw, I removed it, and what I did to remove the bits and pieces. So this is the hub side by side. So this is a standard 4x100. Obviously by the flange you can see the 4x100. This is the 5x100. Now as you can tell, the CV bit that pushes through is a lot larger. So you know, the number one you're going to need is obviously the outer CVs. Now the outer CVs, you can use Mark III ones as well as the outers of the Mark IVs. They're exactly the same. So you can just use those on all Mark IVs. It doesn't matter if it's a 1.4 to a 3.2. Oh no, the 3.2 is actually different, sorry. So on 1.4 to the 20 valves, they're all 5-speed ones. They're all, the outer CVs are all the same as the Mark III Golf 5x100 setup. So you can use that. The next difference, I'll turn these round so you can see. So I'm going to keep it at a line that you can kind of, so the center line as much as I can. And there you can see the arms in a different position. Hold on, let me get it. Okay, so there you go. As you can see, the arm is actually, this one's actually closer to the body and this one's further away. So this is what kind of stops the bump steer, limits the kind of the feeling that you get coming back through the steering wheel. So it takes, you know, so it gives actually a bit more effort into the steering, whereas this kind of, because you've got more leverage, it's more away from the center point, it actually takes away a lot of feeling. So the closer it is, the heavier it becomes, it gives you kind of a more feeling. Also, you can see here the way the angle of the CV, as you can see, this is flat on its flange, and this is literally just 90 degrees straight through the center point. So you can imagine a line going across here where the lower ball joint goes through, straight through the shaft, straight onto where it goes. As you can see here, that's not the case. So the center line is here, it goes through where the CV goes, but the ball joint is actually in a slightly different position. So the caster is actually different on it. As well as you can see the angle as well of the ball joint. It's not sitting at this literally 90 degrees to this perpendicular 90 degrees to this surface here. It's actually sitting at maybe 60 odd degrees. So it's these small differences, as well as the wishbones, which I'll show you now. So again, here's the wishbones. The one on the left is the 5x100. The one on the right is the 4x100 setup that comes on the Mark III. The Mark II one is similar. This is just a little bit longer, and obviously this has got like the TT bushes that I put on them. Biggest thing you can notice straight away will be where the actually anti-roll bar goes. Again, the anti-roll bar is thinner on the 5x100 than it is by, I think it's like 19 mil, and the 4x100 is 22 mil. But part of that is, one, the slightly smaller anti-roll bar softens the front up, but also aids turning, so it makes it understeer a little bit less. as well as the anti-roll bar doesn't have to work so hard. It's actually got more leverage because it's further away, whereas this has to be thicker because it's kind of working. So actually the thinner bar, because it's got more leverage, probably works the same way. Much different. I mean, they've obviously engineered it for whatever reason, but that also makes a difference to the way the anti-roll bar works. Now the center line, again, if you can imagine through here, kind of a line going straight up, you can see it's more or less about there. Whereas if you look at this one, you can see it's literally, if you follow this contour along here, it's in a totally different position to where that one is. So it's, you know, to make up for the angle of the hubs in a different position, the wishbones also move the wheel. So they're not interchangeable. So you can't really put this wishbone with a 4x100. It just moves the wheel all the way back, or is it, no, sorry, it pushes it all the way forward. So it pushes the caster forward. Whereas if you use the 4x100 wishbone and you try and fit the 5x100 hub, it'll move it'll just literally push the caster right to the back, and the car just feels really, really odd. So you know, you have to actually go with them, as well as also where the ball joint goes is actually larger as well. The plate and the lower ball joint has got a different shape, as you can see there. So this is it, guys. Unfortunately, you're not going to see the wheels going on, but you've seen what it takes to take it off, and I've explained to you a little bit about the 5x100 setup. So please support the channel, subscribe, ding-a-ling-a-ling, click on the notification bell, and keep safe.